Welcome to Heaven Encounters. I am your host, Randy Kay, and we will be talking with those like me who encountered the afterlife, either in heaven and in some cases, even hell. Hi, my guest today attempted suicide, and after that, she encountered hell. But that experience was redeemed when God showed her his love. Now, she has supernatural giftings, including the interpretation of dreams. Yen, it's great to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be with you and your viewers today.
Well, Yen, let's start with what led up to this. Obviously, you were at a point of utter desperation, and so what caused that? And then we'll get to your heaven and hell encounter.
Yeah. So very briefly, just leading up to that, I had been very, very depressed, very hopeless for several years. My family, we just went through a lot of trauma growing up. We came from the country of Laos, and we came to America as a result of what was happening with the Vietnam War. So we came and we arrived as refugees. We grew up very poor. My father, he passed away unexpectedly when I was 11 years old. He was only 39. He went to sleep and he never woke up. Just given that experience, my family, it was just so hard for my mom to put the pieces together for us, to raise her children. And she was uneducated and she just did not have the means and the ways to help us. So I just was really left being the oldest out of the family, just really left trying to help put the pieces together, but just not having any healthy coping mechanisms and just feeling absolutely abandoned. The other part of that is my family, we grew up Buddhist, but we also had very traditional, what they call, the religion is called Satsanapi. And that really just is translated to mean religion of the spirit. And so,
So was that like a form of Buddhism, or what kind of religion was that?
Yes, it is practiced in Laos as a form of Buddhism, but it's also tied in with like ancestral worship as well as animistic beliefs as well. So it's very common in Laos with these traditional beliefs to believe in many things. Like, it's okay. Like we were here in America, it was fine to believe that there's also a God. But we just considered, this God, Jesus, to be just another God. So, growing up, I had all of these different beliefs, being raised in that. We did know about Christianity, but we were not Christians. We just knew about it and we respected the religion. I didn't know anyone that actually walked with those Christian beliefs and, told me and shared with me how God was different. So growing up, I just thought God was just another God. So I know that living in that way just opened up for me just a lot of fear, a lot of hopelessness, a lot of trauma. So I was very depressed. And so I tried to commit suicide the first time when I was 17. And then 3 years later when I was 20. And then that brought me to the place where I encountered God in a very real and powerful way.
So at 20 years old, you had attempted suicide. And was this vis-a-vis the use of pills, or how did that happen?
Yeah. I remember that day so clearly. I had just gotten into a terrible fight with a boyfriend of mine. And again, just feeling so low, feeling very troubled about my life. And even just the comment that he said to me on the phone was, you are just a terrible person and you should just kill yourself. And I remember thinking like, he is absolutely right. I should not be on this earth. There's no reason that I should be on this earth. And I remember just thinking, gosh, I don't know how anyone can feel this bad, being alive. And I went to the local drugstore and purchased a large bottle of sleeping pills. And I even remember looking in the mirror and even saying, God, I don't even know if you're real. I hear about you, but I really don't know if you're real. And I've heard that if you end your life, you will go to hell. But I'm so miserable with my life right now that I would rather go to hell than keep on living. And I proceeded just to take all the pills. And then I had also been in therapy for years prior to that. And so I was also prescribed various antidepressants and medication. So I went through my drawer and I took that. I just wanted to end my life in that moment, that day. I just didn't want to go on one more moment. And so as I was taking all of these pills, um, I began to notice that was very different from the first time that I attempted suicide. This time, I started to notice that my understanding, my thinking was starting to fade. I also started to notice that I was drifting off into another realm, as you can say. In this realm, um, it was like I was sinking into this other space. It was like a time and a space where the first thing I saw was um, when I was slipping into this is I saw a cage, and the cage was coming over me, and the cage was coming under me, as if I was about to be caged. And I was also hearing things that I knew was from this other realm, and it was just a very low, undistinguishable voice. It wasn't a language that I've ever heard on earth. It was just this like kind of like a grumbling, like it just I didn't even know. I couldn't understand what this voice was, but I knew there was an immediate sense of fear that came over me and evil. And so I knew something was happening. There was something happening that I was drifting into that was evil. And I noticed as I was slipping into this, I was trying to wake myself up. Like, wait, don't die. You're going somewhere that you don't want to go. And I knew that I had the sense that my time was short. And in fact, I called up my therapist on the phone. And I said, when I got him on the phone, I said, this is what is happening. I took these pills and I can feel myself dying. I'm not asking you for help. I'm just telling you I'm dying right now. And I was so fearful. I didn't want to die alone. That was the state I was in. I just didn't want to die by myself because I could see I was being my spirit was being taken into another realm that was absolutely terrifying.
So you were in a place that would you say that was hell and that was demonic and all of the things that we associate with hell, but you didn't have a context for hell, did you? I mean, by virtue of the religion that your family had followed, there was no concept of hell, was there?
I mean, we of course, we thought like there was like a bad place, like if you were really a bad person, but I didn't know, like we didn't, we never described what that hell would look like. I never had an understanding of like this is what hell would be like. I just never grew up with that, that understanding of demons and, it just wasn't in our understanding. And so I had no idea, but I knew that this was hell, just the fear and the evil and what was to become of me with this impending torment that was about to happen. I knew that's where I was heading.
Death brings on a number of places that one can go, and in your particular case, your attempted suicide was based on abuse that you had received from your boyfriend, and just not knowing, what to do with your life because you had terribly low self-esteem at that time. But you were caught in this place. Obviously, you survived the suicide attempt. Then what happened subsequent to that? Because obviously you weren't left in that place of darkness.
Yes. So my therapist, what he did was he said, Yen, I'm not gonna stay on the phone with you. And he immediately he said I needed to get help and he was going to call 911. and have the ambulance come and pick me up, or he said that he needed to talk to someone on the phone to make sure that they took me to the emergency room right away. So I was kind of embarrassed to have an ambulance show up at my door. So I did. At this point now, my legs had stopped working, and so I was that far gone in my ability to even physically move. And so I remember crawling out of my room on all fours to get my college roommate. And I gave her the phone, and I wasn't even able to formulate a sentence. I just handed her the phone, and she found out what had happened, and took me to the emergency room immediately, where they pumped my stomach. The next day, because I just completely blacked out, I didn't know what happened to me. When I was awake the next day, I'll never forget, the doctors came into my room and they said that they had asked me for the list of medications that I had overdosed on in the pills. And the one doctor, she said, "I cannot believe you're alive, because the medication, the meds that you took should have stopped your heart." And on my way to the hospital, that was already happening. I could feel irregular heartbeat, and that's noted in my medical records. When I arrived, that I was in and out of consciousness, and I had irregular heartbeat, so that was documented. And she said it was shocking that my heart did not stop, and that I didn't die. So she thought it was pretty miraculous on that account. When I came home then from the hospital, God showed me even more of just the glimpse that I had seen of hell. He showed me even more.
What?
When I came home, I remember falling asleep, just being absolutely exhausted. And when I fell asleep, I felt my spirit leave my body. I was having an out of body experience where I could feel it going through the mattress of my bed. And I can almost just, the only way I can explain it, it was just like this rapid lightning speed tunnel, just my spirit just shooting right through, and it went just completely, very quickly down through. I could see the layers of the earth, and I just remember thinking, I've never. This is just what's going on. I know this is not a dream, and I could see myself seeing all the layers of the earth, and I was. It was like I was being tunneled down, really, and not knowing where I was going to end up. But I felt like just being aware of my senses, that I was like in the center of the earth, and I was dropped into this dark, um, black abyss, is what I call it. I just knew. I remember thinking this. That it was darker than night. I think all of us have had experiences of being camping or being places where um, there is no light, and you're thinking in your head, this is very dark. But I remember thinking this darkness was unlike anything. Like, it was just pure darkness. And even though I couldn't see anything, I absolutely could sense there were beings around me, and I could feel the darkness. I could feel the evil. I could feel the terror of the beings surrounding me. And um, the beings, even though I couldn't see their faces, I couldn't see what they looked like. It was like their thoughts were, being sent to me. I mean, almost like a telepathic. It was just like I knew one of their thoughts. The first thought that jumped at me that was communicated was, "You're right. God doesn't love you." And then another thought came up from another direction, and that thought said, "You're right. God is not real." And then another thought came and said, "You're right. God isn't here." It was like a thought after thought. And within me, all I knew was, it was like, I believe it was the Lord giving me direction. And this, something came over me and said, "Do not partner and believe these thoughts, these lies. Do not believe them." Because it was like, I felt like if I would believe them, then I was going to be like stuck there in that prison, in that pit, in that hopeless state. So I knew I had to come back with the very opposite. Even though I didn't know if I really believed it, but I just knew I had to counteract. So then I came out and I said, no, God is real. No, God does love me. And I just started to just come back in my mind with the opposite thought.
Was it the voice, Yan, that you heard? Because you heard this voice that was declaring actually that you were loved, to counter all of these other voices of despair and accusations.
Yeah.
So that voice, then that person who was declaring that saved you from.
It was like within me. I didn't hear a voice. I knew I had to come back with a different, the opposite of what they were saying to me. These demonic voices were saying to me. I had to come back and say something that was the very opposite. And the most amazing thing happened as I started to declare with my thought the very opposite, that God does love me, that God does care about me. Right above me, what happened was it was like the ceiling of the place that I was in completely just broke open. And it broke open with this most beautiful, bright, white, like almost a blinding light. But I could see it. It just broke open the ceiling of where I was. And within that, as it broke open, I could see a being on a beautiful white horse. And I know that it was Jesus. I know that it was. At the time, I didn't know what was really happening to me, but I was like, well, what is this? An angel? Is this Jesus? I know now that it was Jesus. And so as this, as Jesus came down as, this beautiful being that I thought came down and literally just swooped me up and just rescued me from that place. Just swooped. I just knew I was just swooped up, and I was now going up. Now I was from the direction I came. Now I was immediately going up, and the same thing was happening. It was like I was being tunneled at lightning speed straight up and just going up. I thought I was going back to my apartment, to my home. I thought I was just going to be planted right there, but the next thing that happened just was so incredible, Randy. So here I thought I was just going to be just kind of plopped right back down, like, okay, you're rescued now. But instead, as I was now seeing my apartment, now I was going up, and now I was seeing my city and getting smaller, and I was realizing that I wasn't going to be landing at home. I was going up. So as I was just at this lightning speed, now going very fast, quickly up, tunneled up, and I'm seeing the earth smaller and smaller. And I'm seeing that I'm in the heavens, I'm in the atmosphere, I'm in the universe, I'm seeing the stars. I'm seeing the earth so small, and just all around me, just the beautiful night sky with the beautiful stars around me. And I thought, okay, now I don't know what's going on. And I was moving to heaven. I was going to heaven. And I knew I was going to heaven because the outer realm of heaven is that beautiful, bright light, that radiant, loving light. And I heard the most beautiful angelic voices. They were singing a song that I did not understand, but I remember when I heard it, I thought, I never want to forget this, because it was so healing. It was so healing to where I had been. It was so healing. It was like the healing love of God. As I was listening to these beautiful angelic voices, it was the healing love of God come over me. And I thought, I don't deserve to go to heaven. I wasn't even a Christian, so I don't even deserve to go to heaven. I at that time I didn't really know him. So here I thought, wow, how is this happening now? And I just remember, though, Randy, I was so thankful, so extremely thankful for having another chance. And I thought I'm so excited though to go to heaven. And I was also sad because I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my mom and to my brother and my sister. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my family. So I remember in my mind being very sad about that. And immediately I heard the voice of God, and he said, "It is not your time." Just like that, I was going back down. I was going just again, just being tunneled down. Where then, as I was going so quickly down, I did land. It was like I fell straight into my body, and I remember just shooting up. It was like I was laying down. I could feel my spirit land into my body, and I just shot up. And I knew, and I've never had an experience like that since. I've had dreams and encounters with Jesus, but I've never had that same experience again.
And so what really impresses me about Yen, many impressive things about your account, one of them obviously is the fact that you were not, as you said, a Christian. And neither did you have this preconceived knowledge of who Jesus was and, the Messiah and the Savior and heaven and all these attributes that you're explaining, but they seem to be almost inherently known to you or by you. And you were impressed by that. Was it something that you understood from anyone somebody had told you about, a Christian, for example, or was it something that just was revealed to your soul?
Being that, having the opportunity to live in the United States, Christianity is all around you. So I definitely, even by watching TV, and just by, meeting people who say that they're of, whether it's the Catholic faith or the Lutheran faith. So I definitely had people, say, tell me about that there's a God, that there's a God who's Father God, that there's Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. I mean, I definitely have heard people talking about, who God is, but, as far as me personally having a personal relationship, absolutely not. I did not have a personal relationship. I remember when people would talk about God and talk about Jesus, I thought they seem so far away. It just seemed like, this God was wonderful, but he just seemed so far away, and I did not see God at all in my life until that moment, of course.
So obviously you became a believer, and now the Lord has released you into a supernatural ministry and revelations that He's shown to you. So tell us about that. How did you become a believer, and then what did the Lord do to you to embed the supernatural gifting to you?
Yeah, it took another year later. I ended up, I got pregnant with my first son, and God used that to bring me to Christ. I really got to the end of myself, and I confessed Jesus as Lord of my life at that moment, and I asked Him into my life, into my heart, and so since that moment, God has just been transforming me in a powerful way. And one of those things is He showed me that near death experience. He showed me how He is the God of second chances, and because of that, it has stirred in me a desire to pursue the supernatural. He showed me what heaven is, what hell is, just a little piece of that. And so that really just stirred in me. God, I just want to know. I just want to experience your spiritual gifts. I just want to know. And so God began giving me dreams. And so what ended up happening was I was having dreams, and I would wake up the next morning and I would know the interpretation. And so this has now been many years, and to this day, He has given me dreams where He has shown me what jobs to take. He's shown me strategies for my family, shown me how to pray for people. He's given me words of knowledge. I've actually called people, and I'll say, I won't even say I had a dream, but I'll say, are you going through this? And because God showed me in the dream, and they'll say, yes, how did you know? And I said, God wants you to know you're loved and you're seen. and I just want to pray for you. It's been incredible. I'm a part of a dreams interpretation group, and they're all beautiful Christian ladies, and we talk about biblical dream interpretation. And even the ministry that I currently work for, Souls for Jesus, God showed me I would be a part of that ministry through a dream. And so I'm so blessed. God has really just been opening up my eyes. And I love what he said in the book of Joel, that this is the time, this is the hour, that in the last days, he is releasing his spirit upon his sons and daughters. And, Randy, I just want to encourage the viewers and everyone listening that, let's not put God in a box. My life is just, I know, one of many, who've encountered God in such a powerful way. And let's not put him in a box. Let's just pursue everything that he has for us. And I just want to, finalize that is that I've given another chance at life. And, what God has shown me is that in giving me another chance, that there's a purpose, there's a destiny that only I can fulfill. And that goes for everyone listening. There is an extraordinary purpose and a plan that only each person can fulfill. And when we allow him to write and to author our story, it is going to be the best journey. It is going to be the best adventure.
And now you have a great family that you love and loves you.
Yeah.
And your life now is in ministry. Mention your ministry again, if you will,
Yes.
for us, Yen.
Yes. So I am the office manager for a ministry called Souls for Jesus, and it's so divine. The director, she actually, she had an opening, and she is a woman of God, and she hears from the Lord. And she reached out to me and she said, Yen, I have been praying for this position because we are such a small nonprofit Christian organization. I said to the Lord, I want the person that fills this role to be anointed and appointed. And she said, Yen, your faith kept coming up. At the time, Randy, I was working for a church, and I was in ministry at the time. And I thought, Lord, is this you? And God gave me a dream. And he confirmed it in that dream, as well as other things that just were happening, supernaturally to confirm. And what we do at Souls for Jesus is we select new and gently used shoes. And we are based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We take these shoes and we ship them, we send them to rural villages and countries throughout Africa, the continent of Africa. And with every pair of shoes, people are given the opportunity to hear about the gospel.
Well, Yen, thank you for joining us today. This has been a tremendous blessing. And for those of you watching, if you are indeed in Jesus the Messiah and you know him as your Lord, be of good cheer, because heaven is in your future. Take care and God bless. Thank you for watching this episode of Heaven Encounters. If you'd like more information, you can go to Randy K Ministries at randyk.org. Take care and God bless.